Hey everybody, this is Nia and this is Virago, Woman Warrior. So today, I'm gonna do a story time, a quick story time. I'm gonna do a story time about the time I caught my boyfriend with the babysitter. So, the whole point of me starting this ministry that God gave me was because a lot of people, especially women, we tend to go through a lot of the same things. And so God kind of sent me to show that even in the midst of all the things that we go through, He's with us, no matter how messy it is, no matter how ghetto it is, no matter what walk of life you come from. Because a lot of people don't go to church or won't come to God because they feel like you have to be perfect. And you don't have to be perfect. You can't be perfect because nobody is. And that's the whole point of us having a savior. And my testimony, or all the testimonies that I have, are like living proof of that, because I went through so much, mostly relationship wise. But no matter what I went through, no matter how messy it was, no matter how crazy it was, God was always there. And that's what inspired me to even write the books that I'm writing, giving my testimony. They're fictional books, but they're based on real life events in my life. So this is a quick little story time of the time I was with this guy and I caught him with the babysitter. So at this time in my life, I was living in this really close-knit neighborhood. It was a low-income neighborhood, very close-knit, a lot of kids in the neighborhood. All the houses were really close, and most of the people had lived there for a pretty long time, so we knew each other pretty well. So this particular summer, and if anybody know, summers in the hood get real hot. And it was summertime. So this summer, I was outside in my yard like I normally am with my kids that were playing and stuff. And these two teenage girls started coming around a lot. They started coming around often, and they were hanging out with my neighbors next door. My neighbor next door had a couple of sons, and so they were young teenage girls. The sons were a little older than them, but they thought they was cute, so they started hanging out with the sons. So I was really close to that neighbor, so I started seeing the girls often. We will call them, let's see, the main one I'm going to be talking about, we'll call her Courtney, and the other one we'll call Ashley. So, and the boyfriend, we'll call him, what did I call him in my book? I called him Calvin, I think. So Ashley and Courtney are chilling with the guys next door a lot or whatever. I'm outside with my kids practically every day. It's summertime. I'm a school bus driver at the time, so I got my summers off, so I'm chilling. Got my summers off, still getting paid. Once in a while, I'll do a trip or whatever. I think at the time, school wasn't quite over yet. I think I still was working. I had like a couple of weeks left. So we were outside most of the time. It was summer. It was hot. The days were long or whatever. So these two girls started hanging out a lot in the driveway. We're talking. I'm getting to know them. They're pretty cool. They're young. They're fun. I'm older than them. I'm probably maybe like 10 years older than them, if not more. So they're like probably like around 18. I'm like 28, early 30s or whatever. So I'm getting to know them. Now they're chilling with the guys next door, but there are times where they come in my house, we hang out, we're kicking it. I'm talking with them about stuff, their little drama with their boyfriends and everything, kind of like being like a big sis or whatever, laughing, joking with them, everything. So a couple of months go by, and God, I forgot what I said I was going to call her, Courtney. So a couple of months go by, and by now I've gotten to know them pretty good, decent amount. And Courtney's like, man, Nia, my mom is bugging or whatever. She wants to put me out. We never really had a good relationship. I'm always beefing with her. We have problems all the time. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have anywhere to go. So she had stayed with her best friend, Ashley, for a while. And Ashley's mom was, like, you stayed with us before, and she really didn't want to do it again. So me feeling bad, I was like, I don't know her all that well, but well enough, how bad could it be? She's a young girl, she needs help. And for me, I was always a sucker for somebody that needed a place to stay. I don't know what that was about. Like, even when I was in high school, I was taking in stray dogs, cats, everything. If I have friends that have problems with their parents, I was always asking my mom, could somebody stay with me? I don't know. I was just always like that. Always a sucker for somebody who needed a place to stay. So I felt bad. It's this young girl, problems with her mom, don't have anywhere to go. I've been talking to her, getting to know her for the past couple of months. So I was like, you know what? You could stay with me. We'll figure it out. You could stay with me. I was like, I have issues with needing somebody to keep an eye on my kids during the mornings when I have to go to work, if I wanted to do a trip. So I was like, this will be perfect. I'll help you with having a place to stay and stuff. And you can help me with keeping an eye on my kids when I got to run errands or when I need to go to school. I was like, it'll be perfect. One hand wash the other or whatever, So everything was good in the beginning. No issues, problems, whatever. She got along pretty good with the kids. My kids were maybe 10 and down. For those of y'all who don't know, I have 6 kids, like stair steps, boom, boom, boom. So they were 10 and down, maybe from 10 to 5. And she's watching them, if when I have to run out for work early in the morning because I was driving the bus, it was perfect. She could get them ready while I go get my bus and come back and pick up the kids. And my kids could take their school bus home in the afternoons, and I didn't have to worry about running around after my run to pick up my kids. It was going to make things easier. Now, my boyfriend at the time, he didn't technically live with me, but he was there all the time. You know how it is. As soon as they leave a couple of outfits there, they're there a lot. Can't get rid of them. So it was kind of like that. He didn't live with me, but he was there 90% of the time. So their interactions wasn't really nothing. It wasn't anything that I felt I needed to be concerned about at the time. He was a little prankster, a little jokester or whatever. So he'll be teasing her about stuff here and there. It wasn't nothing. But as time progressed, I noticed that she would start acting a little different when he came around. She wouldn't talk to me as much. She wasn't making as much eye contact. Her clothes started getting a lot tighter. I noticed she started wearing tight shirts and unzipping her shirts down, all this cleavage. It seemed like her bras got all pushed up, boobs popping out. And I wasn't very confrontational, but it got to the point where it was just so obvious, she wanted the attention. So at this point, by the time when I said something to her, I was really kind of pissed off. So I'll call him Calvin. So I said, when C gets home, or if he comes here, put your titties back in your shirt. I had to check her at this point because she was just doing way too much. And it was like, girl, I could see you. I'm nice, but I'm not stupid. Don't try to play me or whatever. So when I said that, she's looking at me like a deer in headlights. She don't understand why I'm coming at her like that. And her friend was sitting there at the table with us because we was talking like we normally did. And, now she's looking all stupid, looking down and everything, looking embarrassed and stuff. So that was one of the few times I had to check her about her clothes and stuff. Why are you purposely trying to look provocative every time he comes around and stuff? And so the crazy thing was, there was another younger girl who I was cool with, and she had a dream. Now I knew she was gifted, that God spoke to her. She had other dreams that came to pass, and she had told me one time, like, Nia, I had this dream that C had came to your house to come see you, and Courtney was laying on the couch, and he mistook her for you, and he was like caressing her, in a sexual way, thinking that she was you or whatever. And her dream was just like, it was quick, it wasn't a lot or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's weird, that's different. I'll like keep my eye on that or whatever. That's really something. So when she started wearing all the tight clothes and wanting the attention, I thought about that dream, but I just thought about it. I didn't really do anything about it. And so she was kind of tiptoeing around me a little bit after that, but I wasn't being mean to her or anything. I tried to be as regular as possible. I still had her staying there. I was still helping her. And all the while she was staying with me, I was trying to help her get on her feet. I was really trying to be like a big sister to her. So she had dropped out of high school. So I was trying to help her get back into high school. And when she wasn't able to do that, I helped her sign up for night classes and stuff. Because I'm like, girl, ain't too much you could do without your high school diploma. You need to at least do that. And she was very bright. She was very capable. I knew that from talking to her and stuff. So I was trying to help her with those odds and ends. She was looking for a job. She didn't have a job. So I'm driving her around. She's putting applications in and all this stuff. Really trying to help her get on her feet, this and that and stuff. So months and months go by. She's really not making too much progress, but I'm trying to help her. I started realizing it just seemed like she didn't want to do too much. So I was getting to the point where I was like, listen, I got to tell her, I've got to give her a time limit, and she has to figure something out. I can't do this forever. So around this time, when I'm getting off of work, there were a few times where my older kids, specifically my son is so intuitive, and he has a prophetic gift too. So he's like, Mom, something is not right with Courtney. I just feel like she's really shysty. Something is not right. One time my kids come home from school, and they tell me, Ma, we came home and got off the bus, and Courtney wasn't even there to get us off the bus. And when we got in the house, Calvin was passed out asleep on the bed, and she was in the room, and his thing is hanging out. And I'm like, huh? What the heck? And the thing about Calvin, he used to drink all the time. So it wasn't nothing for him to be passed out in the room or whatever. So they had told me that, and I was like, that's just weird. And then my son was just telling me, like, the little conversations they were having, it just seemed like it was something up, like there was something more to it. So fast forward to the day. So this particular day, Calvin had asked me in the morning. He was like, when you get off your split shift, because I used to work 6 a.m. till 9 a.m, did my school run and everything. I would come back home from my split. Then I would go back and pick up my high school kids around 1 or 2 o'clock. So he was like, when you come home from your split, can you bring me to cash my check? I'm like, sure, that's not a problem. I'll do that. I said, but I have a meeting at work first. That's going to be a little while. Shouldn't be too long. And then I'll come back and scoop you and bring you to cash your check. Something about when you come home earlier than you supposed to, I swear. So that day I finished my run. I go do the meeting at work, and the meetings usually run for like an hour or more. But today we just had this quick little video that we had to watch, and it was like, y'all could go home. So we finished in like 15, 20 minutes instead of the hour. So I hop in my school bus, because that's something I used to do too. I used to take my bus home on my split shift and leave to go to my school from home so that I could be home longer and didn't have to leave early. So I hop in my bus and I head back to the house to come scoop him to bring him to cash his check. And I go the long way around to my street so that I could park my bus right in front of my house. So as I'm pulling up my street, I see one of Calvin's friends at the house next door. Now, the thing about the house next door is my boyfriend Calvin had family that lived next door. He had family that lived next door, so he was over there a lot. It was real easy. He go visit his family, then he'd come next door, come see me. It was a real good setup. So when I'm pulling up in my bus to my house, I see his homeboy next door at the house, and I said, oh, he must be looking for Calvin or whatever. I pop the air brake, I get off my bus, I go into my house, and I'm looking for Calvin to bring him to cash his check. He's not there. Then I say, you know what? Maybe he's next door. His homeboy was just on the stoop, so he's probably over there. So I leave my house, I go next door, and I go to the front door to go to the house to see if he's over there. As soon as I get on the stoop, and there's a window to the living room. When you stand on the stoop, living room is right there, whatever, and the window is cracked. When I get to the stoop and I get ready to knock on the door, I hear noise. So I'm like, what the heck? I hear all this moaning, and now I just freeze. And I just hear all this moaning and everything. I'm like, what in the world? Now my heart is racing. My heart is like, doom, doom, doom. My heart is beating so loud, I can hear my heart in my ears. I can't even hear any of the noise on the street. At this point, I can't even hear the moaning and everything I was hearing. I just hear my heart like, doom, 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 doom. So I'm trying to calm down, like, calm down, calm down. You don't know what it is. You don't know who it is. But deep inside, I knew. So I'm trying to calm down. I'm trying to breathe. I'm like, Nia, calm down. Calm down. I'm stuck. I want to move. I want to knock on the door. I want to say something, but I can't. I'm just stuck. It feels like I'm stuck on glue. Like I can't move my legs. I can't move anything. I can't open my mouth. My heart is just beating. I'm listening to all this moaning, and the moaning is increasing. At first it was slow. Then it was speeding up. It was speeding up. It was getting louder until it came to this crescendo. And it was like, I just knew they were done. It was like, you could tell the person was like being rocked hard and fast. And it was just crescendoing, and then it just stopped. And it was dead silence. Then I hear a belt buckle jingle. Then it seemed like when the belt buckle jingled, I kind of came to myself, and it was like I was unstuck. Then I went to turn the doorknob to see if the door was unlocked, and it wasn't. So there was another entrance that was in the driveway. And so I went around to the side, and I went and I opened the door. And when I opened the door, my boyfriend Calvin is standing at the door like he was getting ready to leave. And I looked past him towards the living room, and homegirl is stark butterball naked in the living room walking up the stairs. So I just push past him, and I go into the living room, and she like trots up the stairs. She doesn't even realize I'm in there. She trots up the stairs. I see her go to the left, and then I see her come back, and she goes in the bathroom, and I hear the shower run. And then I just run up the stairs. I swear, I must have like skipped 4 stairs at a time, and I ran up the stairs. I was like, word, Ashley, this what we doing? And I ran in the bathroom. She's in the shower. She's all wet, and her hair was wild, just standing on top of her head. She's all sweaty and everything. I just lost it. I just grabbed her by her hair, and it was like, I don't condone violence, but I understand how it happens. I just grabbed her by her head like she was one of them balls you had, them balloons we had as a kid that had the long string, and you just be like, grabbed her by her hair and just punching her in her face. And at first she's just like trying to block it, and she's ducking and stuff or whatever, but I kept hitting her. And I guess maybe she was waiting for me to stop, but I'm just hitting her. I'm just tagging her in her face. And then it was like, kind of like she came to herself. I feel like maybe the guilt made her feel like she shouldn't fight me back. But then it was like she came to her senses, and then she swung at me. Pow! And she hit me in the side of my face. She hit me and my earring flew to the side. I was so pissed off, I didn't even feel the hit. I knew it contacted because my face turned when she punched me and my earring flew into the corner onto the floor. So I knew she hit me, but I didn't even feel it. And then when my face turned like a typewriter and I knew she hit me, my earring flung off. It was like that pissed me off even more. So I grabbed her hair again, but this time I dragged her out of the shower. I dragged her out of the shower naked, and I dragged her into the hallway to the stairs that I just came from. And I just pulled her back towards me, and then I threw her down the stairs. And she was just tumbling. Boom, 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 boom. And I watched her, and she's trying to grab the railings to stop herself from falling and hitting herself even more or whatever. And so then I started to run down the stairs after her as she's falling down the stairs. This is one of the few times I heard God plain as day. I swear I heard the Lord plain as day. As I run down the stairs after her, she's falling. She's grabbing the railing, trying to get her balance because she's naked and wet. I heard the Holy Spirit say, Nia, who's going to take care of your kids when you go to jail? And I said, oh my God, I said out loud to myself, oh my God, my kids. I wasn't thinking about my kids. I wasn't thinking about anything. I wasn't thinking about the fact that she's so much younger than me or anything. And it was like, I came to myself. I got my senses. So I had been running towards her, so I ran around her and just went down the stairs, and I went to go out of the front door, and they had all the locks on it. So I was unlocking the locks, and she had got up and she ran after me. And when I felt her behind me, I turned around to look at her all crazy, and then she just stood up looking like, and I was like, yeah, I don't even try me, girl, so after that, I just unlocked the doors and I left, and I went back next door, and my boyfriend was next door at the house waiting for me. And now that I see him, after everything that's happened, I done caught him with the babysitter, the girl I had living with me and everything. I'm yelling, screaming, crying at him. How could you do this, that, and the other? And I wish I could say I left. I didn't even leave. And that's why I'm able to write these 3 books I'm writing. Because I tolerated way too much stuff. I didn't even have low self-esteem. I had no self-esteem. I just tolerated all kinds of crap. And the crazy thing is, I didn't break up with him. We still stayed together and went through all kinds of crap. And as I was writing my book about all these different instances, I thought about it. I don't know if any of you guys have ever had that kind of betrayal. Maybe you could leave something in the comments and let me know if you ever had that kind of betrayal. If you ever had a friend betray you, or a partner or something betray you when you have put your trust in them, you love them, you confided in them or something. But I think that I don't know. I can't say that maybe I was scared, because it's like, why didn't I fight him? He was the one I was in a relationship, really, and that's valid, But I think that subconsciously, a lot of women are like this too, where you kind of expect a man not to do right. You expect a man not to act right. You expect him to cheat. You expect him to not be faithful. Even though you're hurt, even though you're wounded and stuff like that, you just feel like, well, this is what guys do. You just be praying it's not your friend, your cousin, your sister, but you expect that from a man. And we shouldn't, because there are good men, and men can have self-control. They just, people choose not to, But I felt betrayed by her, because I'm like, I tried to be a friend to you. I befriended you. I don't even know you all like that. And I let you into my house, and you ate my food, and you were around my kids. And I tried to get you into school and all kinds of stuff. I tried to mother you, and love up on you. So I was more hurt about her woman to woman than I was about him, even though my gripe should have been with both of them, even more so him, because that's who I was in a relationship with. But, as I got older, I thought about it, and I think, it was that I expected him to not do right. And I think deep inside too, sometimes that you're not going to leave. You're not going to leave. So it's like, why be trying to fight him and all this and that? Yeah, I yelled, I screamed, I cried, but I still stayed, and, so I ended up, of course, kicking her out of the house or whatever. She left and stuff. And the thing I give her credit for, she was young, but, she did call me and apologize. And I accepted her apology, but I told her I was very hurt. And I said, you're going to see how it feels to care about somebody and love somebody and be betrayed like that. I was like, it's not a good feeling, but I shared this story time just to show that things like that don't just happen out of the blue either. We have to listen when God is showing us things. This dude didn't just screw the babysitter out of nowhere. There were all different kinds of signs all along the way. I had been with him for like 3 years at that point. He was doing all kinds of stuff. He was an alcoholic, and drinking and everything. And that's another thing too. Let me make my first point. The first point is to listen to God. When you see stuff, listen. Don't ignore the obvious things. Don't let your self-respect go so much to the point where you just tolerate any and everything from people. Sometimes we think we can love people into compliance. We can love them into having better character and being faithful and being committed. And you can't. Character is character. That's what it is. It's not going to change. So watch how people are. Watch how they treat other people. If they're already unfaithful in the beginning, just let it go. It's not worth it. There's other people out there. And I ignored text messages from other girls. I ignored phone calls. I ignored seeing him with girls that I didn't even know who they were and stuff. And I had ignored things for so long that this is how it ended up with me really actually being there and hearing him have sex with somebody else. So sometimes when you keep ignoring things, God is like, oh, do you hear me now? When I slap you in the face with it, now do you hear me? Now are you going to listen? Now are you going to get out of it? So things escalate when you ignore things, and you shouldn't. And the thing was, when the young girl was looking for somebody to stay with, all the older women were like, no, she can't stay with us, because they have more wisdom than I did. They have more experience, and they looked at her and they saw that she was trouble. But instead of me paying attention, like, wow, what's the reason why they don't want to be bothered with her? What's the reason why they won't help her? I'm trying to be all nice and loving. And I really feel like if you live with somebody, you have your husband or whatever, really we shouldn't be shacking up with people anyway if we're safe. But if you live with somebody, you live with your husband, you have to be very careful about who you invite in your household. And it's not always about, oh, you can't trust your man, but just don't give the enemy place like that. Don't give him room in your life. Don't give him room, to cause trouble and stuff like that. So that was the thing, ignoring stuff and then things escalating and getting worse and not listening and obeying God. And even after that, I just dealt with so much mess that I shouldn't have dealt with. But that was the time that I caught my boyfriend with the babysitter. And so a lot of these incidents and things like that and drama and trauma have happened in my life. And God inspired me to write about it. He wanted me to write about it just to help people, avoid the traps and the situations that I have gotten into, because unfortunately it's all too common. It's all too common to men and women. So many men have come home early from working overnight and caught their wives and stuff like that. And there are always signs. There's always signs. There's things we ignore, but there are always signs. Very seldom do these things just catch us out of the blue. It makes good for good bochinche right now, but it ain't funny and it ain't tea when you going through it. But I'm just sharing that so that you could just see how things are, get to know me a little bit better, get to, see who I am as a person. And that's why I come on here to encourage and inspire and show that God is with you through whatever. And God was with me even through that, even through the other things. And I was in an abusive relationship with this guy, and another thing too is sometimes we choose people who are not on the same level. The Bible says, how can two walk unless they agree? If I was going to church and I'm trying to live for God, why in the world I'm hooking up with somebody that's an alcoholic? Why am I trying to be with somebody who doesn't love the Lord? Somebody who's not even trying to go to church? No, you don't have to be perfect, but if they're not even attempting, they're not even trying to, it's pointless. And that's what I did a lot in my life. I never got into a relationship with a man that loved the Lord, that was trying to go to church, that was trying to live right. I was with all these people who wasn't thinking about a Jesus, nothing. So I hope this entertained you. I hope that you learned something from this. I hope it helps you in some kind of way. And I'll be back another time. It's more drama. It's more stuff. I got into all kinds of things. A low self-esteem will drag you to the pits of hell. And I didn't even have low. I had no self-esteem. I can't even say it was low. I tolerated way too much. And if you're in something like that, get out of it. God has better for you. Just cut your losses. Sometimes we sit and we think about, oh, I was with them for this long, and I don't want it to be a waste of time. But why waste even more time? God has something better for you. And that's the thing. We don't value ourselves. We don't feel like we're worthy. We feel like this is all I'm going to get. That scarcity mindset. Who is going to want me? This, that, and the third. But God has better. There's worse things than being alone. We deserve for someone to treat us with love and respect, and for someone to be committed, so we don't have to take people's mess. Obey God the first time. Pay attention when he's showing you people's heart, people's character. Pay attention and cut your losses. It's better to have spent that time and learned that lesson than to stay, because it's only going to get worse. It just got worse and worse and worse, so I just wanted to share that story time with you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of your day. And I'll see you guys next time. Until then, fight that good fight of faith and keep that sword up. Love you guys.